Now, Juul's valuation at one point hit $38 billion. It's now back down to $5 billion, but it's still big considering what's happened. The tide turned against a company that was once thought of as Silicon Valley's most dazzling startup. A new book titled The Devil's Playbook takes a look at how Juul has been weighed down by activist parents, lawsuits, and politicians. The author is Bloomberg's Lauren Etter, and she joins us now to talk about it. So, Lauren, well, congratulations, first of all, on the book. It's a fascinating topic. How did you decide to write about this?
So this was a company that was in the news quite a bit. There had been of course, this youth epidemic of vaping. More than 5 million kids were shown to be using e-cigarettes. And at the same time, or shortly thereafter, there was this outbreak of this mysterious lung injury. And so this was a company that had been in the news, and I found it fascinating that it involved, this Silicon Valley unicorn that was getting so much, attention, but it also involved the tobacco industry. And big tobacco, of course, has this long, interesting, fascinating history in America. And so kind of the collision of these two industries, to me, seemed like a fascinating endeavor. And it turned out to be a really amazing and fascinating story.
I never see Juuls anymore. I do still see people vaping, massive clouds of I guess it's not smoke, of steam or whatever it is. What separates Juul from regular vaping? Is it just the marketing, or is there actually a different mechanism or method?
Oh, it's absolutely a different product, really in its own category, although there are competitors. But really what separated Juul was they developed this nicotine salt formulation, which was a highly potent nicotine juice, essentially, that you were able to stick into a e-cigarette device, a battery-operated device, and heat up. So it was really also the high concentration of nicotine. At the time it entered the market, it had a 5% nicotine concentration, which was quite a bit higher than its competitors. So it was a combination of this unique kind of formulation and the high nicotine strength. And then, of course, there was the early marketing campaign that is now under fire from attorneys general and lawyers across the country. But certainly the product itself was highly effective.
I'm going to assume you're not a vapor. You don't look like a smoker. So I wonder what you found that surprised you when you started doing this kind of reporting.
So the biggest surprise to me was just how long the tobacco industry, the Marlboro Man, the company that we know as what's called Altria, we knew it as Philip Morris, how long this company had been trying to innovate on the cigarette. So essentially, today there are 34 million adult smokers, and that's way down from the 1960s and 70s. But for decades, this massive company had been trying to innovate on the cigarette to create a potentially safer product that wouldn't kill its users like cigarettes do today. And just how bad they were at innovating. And to me, it was it was surprising to learn just how much money they spent, billions of dollars on trying to innovate on the cigarette, and really couldn't do it. They just really were terrible at innovation, just like a lot of other large kind of legacy companies. If you think about the camera, so, Kodak wasn't the one that innovated on, with digital film. Or you think about Tesla, the innovation didn't come from Detroit. What I found fascinating is that it took Silicon Valley to innovate on Richmond, which is where Altria is based, to innovate on this old legacy company. And once Silicon Valley got involved, it just changed the entire dynamic of the industry, and it kind of forced Philip Morris to come to terms with that. And ultimately, they failed at innovating. And of course, in December of 2018, they invested $12.8 billion in this Silicon Valley startup that was created by these two Stanford students. And it ended up, this deal is under scrutiny today. But that was one of the most fascinating things to me, is sort of the long history of this innovation efforts and how badly the biggest tobacco company in the world, or one of the biggest, failed at doing that.